Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, a notorious park in Seattle has been ordered to close or address the public lewdness and nudity. But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
We like to think that everybody wants freedom around the world, not just here in America. Oh, we're exporting freedom. We're exporting democracy. We like to think that everybody wants that. We like to think that America is the great melting pot, and every single possible culture is compatible. It just ain't so. It's just not. For the people who say, oh, we can make anybody American. Okay, well, there's a lot of American neo-Nazis. There's a lot of American KKK members. You want them as part of the American experience? They're here. There's nothing you can do about it. They're here. But another example of this is Sharia law. A lot of us will never really understand why somebody would choose that lifestyle. But that's a form of religion, and that's something that a lot of people want to implement here in America. And I don't think a lot of people understand that that is something that people will put up against America's values, America's freedoms, America's democracies, and say, we choose the oppression. That's the way they're wired. That's what their religion tells them. And I'm not saying this is all Muslims. I'm not saying this is everybody in Islam. In fact, a lot of them actually say, we want nothing to do with that whatsoever. But when there's stories in the national headlines that come from our neck of the woods that highlight this insanity, watching the reaction to it can tell you a lot about what's going on. I don't know if you remember the story about the two parents that tried to honor kill their daughter, but their trial started yesterday. Let me take you back to November of 2024. We were among the first news outlets that broke/reported on this story. Somebody sent me the video. Bam! I posted it. It went out like wildfire. According to court documents, on October 18th, outside of Timberline High School in Lacey, Washington, the girls' parents, Ihsan and Zara Ali, were both arrested after the 17-year-old victim told law enforcement that her father had been threatening to kill her in an honor killing after she refused to go to another country for an arranged marriage to an older man. The daughter, who has not been identified, went to school for help, and witnesses saw the father had his daughter in a chokehold. Now, we're talking Homer and Bart Simpson, only real life. This girl was seconds away from death. Bystanders stepped in to break up the fight, which they thought was among teenagers, and realized it was the girl's father, Ihsan Ali, choking his 17-year-old daughter to the point where she had lost consciousness. That's according to the court documents. The girl told police the father was saying as he was choking her, quote, "It's not right. You are not supposed to do this," before she blacked out. The incident was captured on video and lit the internet on fire. Because to us, something like this happening in the United States, something happening in such a blue, progressive place like Washington, people just couldn't handle it. It's crazy on a normal day, but then factor in where it happened. Bystanders, other students, and the girl's boyfriend attempted to pull her away. The girl's mother, Zara Ali, when the father was pulled off, she stepped in to try and kill her own daughter. And the girl's father punched the boyfriend in the face. A witness told Como News he stepped in to break up what he thought was a fight between teens. And he said he saw the dad holding the daughter in a chokehold. This witness said he was able to get the girl loose and hold the father down until police arrived. Once free, the girl ran into the school screaming, "My dad was trying to kill me. He was trying to kill me," which triggered a lockdown and stopped the parents from being able to get to their daughter again. Court documents say that a prior physical incident with the family forced the school to obtain a temporary protection order against Zara Ali and ban her from school property. So there's already been an incident against the mom, against her own daughter. The previous physical altercation was part of a string of incidents with the family, according to court documents. North Thurston Public Schools said in a statement, "We work with family, staff, and law enforcement partners to maintain safety and security of our campuses, and we take student and staff safety extremely seriously. When unique situations arise, we work with concerned parties to provide safe learning environment, and we were doing so in this case." Now, there's another component in the court documents that was not reported on at the time that I viewed at the time, and I said, adding another layer of this, adding even more racism to this is just too insane. The parents also didn't like the race of the boy. No, he wasn't Jewish. He was a different minority group, and they didn't like that at all. So you're talking about people who are trying to impose Sharia law and killing their own daughter. According to Como News, testimony in the trial of the two Lacey parents continues today. Jurors will hear from a school resource officer, that's a police officer, who spoke with both then the 17-year-old victim and the boyfriend shortly after the attack. Officer Justin Beltran said of the victim's boyfriend, noting the teen had some minor injuries from the attack, overwhelmed, very emotional. He seemed to almost be jumping around like he didn't know how to gather his thoughts initially. Of course. This poor kid got decked by his girlfriend's mother, saw his girlfriend's father and mother attempt to kill his girlfriend, and a lot of it has to do with him, and he's trying to save her life. I'd be shocked if the kid isn't in therapy. Court records reveal the teenager had been threatened with an honor killing by her father after she refused to travel abroad to Iraq. So it's not just travel abroad. It's, you want to go the hellhole? That's Iraq? She went to speak with her old counselor at Timberline High School to get help and was headed to a youth residential center, Haven House, when her father confronted her outside the bus stop near school. Zahra Ali is also facing charges for burglary and violating a restraining order, which the school had to put on her. Prosecutors said she'd previously been told to stay away from the high school and her daughter's boyfriend, though her defense attorneys have argued she cannot read English and may not fully have understood the restrictions of the protection order she was served. I find something interesting. There's some pictures from the courtroom and some video from Como News. By the way, good on Como News for covering this. I didn't see any other outlet covering this. Why do you think it is? Too sticky? Doesn't want to discuss what Sharia law is really all about? The trial is expected to last 2 to 3 weeks. I saw in the video that the parents are wearing headphones, which means they likely have interpreters. During the first day of the trial, jurors viewed the video of the attack and heard from a bus driver who witnessed the assault. John Denicola said obviously she was in distress. Her eyes were rolling in the back of their head. You could tell she wasn't able to breathe. He was driving the bus and stopped in front of the school that day. He said the look on the father's face and the way he was choking her was something. He said, I noticed the eyes rolling into the back of her head, so I grabbed his hand, pulled it off. I was able to get his arms apart, and that's when she got free. Other witnesses described to the jury the chaos outside the school as teens were screaming to call for police and trying to stop the attack. Mary Wagner, who stopped and called 911, said her eyes are rolling in the back of her head. She can't breathe. Someone called 911. Let's go. Everyone seemed in a panic. Said the victim appeared incredibly confused, seemed not to know what her surroundings were, like she was in kind of a panic. Well, yeah, she was almost suffocated to death. Bonkers crazy.
I had not seen this video until today.
Oh, you just saw it?
You just saw it.
By the way, a lot of people told me when I reshared it today, they said to me, we had no idea this happened.
I didn't either.
Right. So I think about this. I went back and double checked. So I shared it back in November, I think is when the video came out. This happened in October. We saw the video in November. And it had, let's say, 4,000 likes and like 3,000 shares or something. But you forget, as much as that seems like a lot, that's over the whole world.
Right.
So the amount of people that saw it locally, who knows how many that was? I know there's a lot of people in conservative land that picked it up and went, oh, this is crazy, holy cow, and it went to their audiences. But at the same time, we assume everybody knows about the story. They don't. Como News is the only outlet covering it.
Her father?
Yeah.
Big guy.
Huge guy.
And, I'm a guy who watches UFC and a lot of fights and stuff. Yeah. That video is pretty crazy.
It's insane. And all the people, it looks like an army trying to pull him off her because there's so many people on it. I rewatched it today. And I know you guys like to joke that I like the snuff videos and things like that, right? But when you're watching something like this, it's horrifying when you realize it's happening. It's happening to a teenage girl, and it's happening in Washington State.
Yeah.
Outside a public school. Look, we all know the parents that get mad at the referee. Everybody's got the one parent. And you know how everybody gets kind of awkward and not really sure what to do when the parent's losing it, and maybe the coach will go up and calm down the dad, or maybe the coach is ignoring it while the kid's feeling bad that that's their dad. Now imagine this. Now imagine this insanity. Crazy stuff. So, prosecutors said that after breaking free from her father's grip, the victim and her boyfriend, who also tried to intervene, ran inside the school for help with the teen screaming that her dad just tried to kill her. Jurors also heard from Lacey police officer who responded to the scene, who had also previously served Mrs. Ali with the protection order, which she was required to stay away from the victim's boyfriend and his school. Defense attorneys for the Alis urged the jury to weigh the surveillance video against witness statements. They also stressed the Alis were searching for their daughter who had run away this morning. Okay. Let's do this as a parent for a second. Every parent has had a moment where you can't find your kid. It's not because you did anything wrong. Let's take synagogue. I've lost my kid in the synagogue before. Didn't know the kid ran out to the playground to go play with their friends, and I thought they were in the social hall. You are a nervous wreck. But what's the first thing you do when you see your kid? You grab them, you hug them, then you scream the crap out of them or whatever it is. You don't try to suffocate the kid. How dare you? Why I ought to? No. Crazy stuff. We think that everybody values life. These people didn't value the life of their own daughter. And with the previous criminal history on top of all of it, the defense attorneys, look, you can only blame defense attorneys so much. They still have to defend their client. They still have to give a case. But the evidence is overwhelming. The evidence is absolutely damning of all of this. This is actually up on the front page of Fox News earlier today. I don't know if it's still there now. But we think everybody just wants freedom. We think everybody just wants to be in America. And we forget there are a ton of people who don't want to be here to make America great or make America better. They want to reshape it. They want to change it into the places they came from. And here's the political spin on all this. Why do you think so many media outlets aren't covering this? Why do you think? You know the answer. I know the answer. They don't want to cover it because they're afraid of the religion of peace. They're worried about what they say and how they get labeled by bringing up the religion of peace. That's what it is. They will not cover this. What's crazy to me is how many people are embracing this. Look, I know I talk about Israel a lot. I know I talk about Judaism a lot. I know I talk about all that kind of stuff a lot. But I always put it in the context of the people who are embracing the other side are the ones who want to bring down America, whether it's through DEI, whether it's through critical race theory, whether it's through crazy policies. And they're all allied together, even though Hamas wants to kill people in the LGBTQ community. They're all allied together in the, we don't want this to be America. We want to bring down America and reshape it into whatever their worldview is. But for the moment, they're all united in common purpose. What's crazy to me is the Democrats say, yeah, we're going to pursue all options to win the House in 2026. That's what Hakeem Jeffries said. Yesterday, we spoke about Zoran Mamdani. And we said when Zoran Mamdani won, that was the license for other people to adopt his model and run the exact same way. Minneapolis has their own version of this guy who's now running for their mayor. This is the kind of stuff Zoran Mamdani supports. This insanity. How do I know? Said it on a podcast not too long ago that he doesn't want police responding to domestic violence calls. So that means he didn't want the police responding to something like this. Why do you think he doesn't want police responding to domestic violence calls? I want you to listen to this clip because I don't think it's about defund the police. I think it's about something else.
Police do not create safety. For many, many people across this city and this state, police actually create and amplify violence. And it is very important to speak about that reality that many people have because it pushes up against the conventional understanding of police, who are seen to be people who come to resolve violence. But, I mean, you just look at the history of the NYPD and you see that we have invested in a system that functions in many ways to punish poor black and brown people across this city and across the state. And frankly,
Okay, stop. I don't think that's what it's about. Why do you think he doesn't want them responding to domestic violence calls? Because then some of the calls they're going to report to are ones like this one, exposing what Sharia law and such are ever about. Zoran Mamdani, by the way, you know how socialism eventually runs out of other people's money? What do you think you're going to do when you run out of other people's money? If you confiscated all the money of all the all the billionaires in the U.S., you know you'd have enough money to run the country for 3 or 4 months, and then you'd be out of money and you'd be out of employers. So what happens when you run out of other people's money? Here's what Zoran Mamdani says.
I worked until January, and then I took time away from my job. And one of the major reasons I could do so was because I knew that if I ran out of my savings, my family would be able to support me.
Well, isn't that nice? Not everybody has that, you crazy lunatic, and you want to tax them all to death. That's what you want to do. If you confront this guy, if you ask this guy about these policies, his staff is going to shut down a press conference and make sure he can't answer them, because once you get confronted with the real questions, you can't actually answer them. Listen to what happened at his press conference yesterday when people started asking him questions from the New York media.
Further and further, such that it reflects the beauty and the breadth of our city. Thank you for your question, Ms. Ayer.
I think we're done here.
Channel 7,
We're going to go. Come on.
we haven't had a chance to meet.
We're wrapping up. Sorry, folks.
Okay.
We're wrapping up. I'm so sorry, guys.
Sorry. Can we just talk about this notion that...
Quick! Start the band before they ask questions. Go to Joe Biden Plan 2. That's right. This is way more fun because now there's a band. If they had done it with Joe Biden, wow, every single one of these is always a party. People are asking me on the Warrior Injury Law studio line if we know the immigration status of the family. I believe I checked at the time, and I believe they're here illegally. But you know what? Let me double check and see if that's the case. Does Zoran Mamdani think that you have the right to keep your money? I mean, after all, he's got very wealthy parents. I assume he wants to keep his money. What does he think about the billionaires?
You are a self-described democratic socialist. Do you think that billionaires have a right to exist?
I don't think that we should have billionaires because, frankly, it is so much money in a moment of such inequality. And ultimately, what we need more of is equality across our city and across our state and across our country. And I look forward to work with everyone, including billionaires, to make a city that is fairer for all of them.
Good. So start by giving up your mother's money from all her movie stuff. Start by giving up your father's money from all his high-paying jobs at Columbia. Start by giving up all your money, and then I'll believe you. No, it's they want to be on top, and they want people underneath them. We think every society wants democracy. We think every society wants a republic. We think every society wants freedom. It just ain't the case. Everybody's got their own agenda for why they want to tear down America, but this one could not be more obvious. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Ted in Gig Harbor. Ted, what's up?
Ari, we need to, this guy's a New Yorker, right? Well, we just changed 2 letters in his name, and he's not Mamdani. He's Mad Manny. Isn't Mad Manny a lot more New York?
Mad Manny. I remember there was an electronics company in New York in the 1980s called Crazy Eddie's. And Crazy Eddie's prices were insane. So when you say Mad Manny, that's what I think about. I think about those old commercials. But here's the crazy thing, Ted. We have people like Pramila Jayapal here. We have our own versions of this guy who are already in office. They're just adding to the count of how many there are going to be.
I know, but none of them has a name that's as useful as Mad Man. I'm Mad Manny. Can you see him as mayor at the first ribbon cutting ceremony for the first socialist grocery store? So, there's the cameras, and they cut the ribbon, and everybody in the crowd rushes in, and the shelves are empty.
Yeah.
It's a socialist grocery store.
Well, no. They'll be full the first day for the pictures. And then it'll be like
Okay.
that scene in the interview when you realize everything's cardboard behind it. Ted, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, lots more to talk about, including a notorious park in Seattle has been ordered to close or figure out how to deal with the public lewdness. We'll tell you about these masters of their domain when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. So I'm sure you guys remember Denny Blaine Park. Yes? No? Denny Blaine Park? It's the one where you have a bunch of people that are no longer the masters of their domain. If you know, you know, my friends. Yes, it's the park with public nudity, public ludity, weird stuff happening up in the trees. Jonathan Cho got some video that will haunt your dreams. Yes, these people are definitely no longer the masters of their domain.
I am king of the county. You?
Lord of the manor.
I'm queen of the castle.
Yes, the masters of their domain. So you would think maybe, after all the attention on this parks with its public nudity issues and public other issues, that a whole bunch of people would just say,
I'm out.
What?
Yeah, I'm out. I'm out of the contest.
You're out?
Yeah.
Wow, that was fast.
Well, it was that woman across the street. You know, you better be careful, buddy. She's going to get you next.
Oh, maybe that's what they're thinking about when all this is going on. But a King County judge has ordered the city of Seattle to temporarily close Denny Blaine Park unless it submits a plan within 2 weeks to address what the court ruled is a public nuisance stemming from ongoing illegal activity, including public sex acts and indecent exposure. The ruling comes after a neighborhood group, Denny Blaine Park for All, filed a lawsuit earlier this year accusing the city of allowing the waterfront park to become a regional venue for criminal and uncivil behavior. The group claims the park has been overtaken by lewd conduct, drug use, and harassment, creating an unsafe environment for nearby families and park goers. Because you have children in the car, I will not explain to you what is happening here, but hopefully you get the message. Seattle City Attorney Ann Davidson had previously urged the court not to shut down the park, arguing that while criminal behavior, such as public sex and drug use, should be addressed, nudity alone should not be considered a nuisance. In a court filings, Davidson defended the park's identity as a queer nude space with social utility. I don't know what that means. So what you're saying is it should be protected because this kind of stuff happens. You know, just because we have decided to look the other way on what goes on at the Fremont Solstice Parade and the Pride Parade, don't make it legal. And by the way, whenever there are public exhibitions of this behavior, which is glorifying sex, you're surprised that this kind of stuff comes along with it? Guys, you know, the city and the county and the state are paying for Rain City Jacks. You want to do this stuff? Head on over to that art gallery, and I'm using air quotes for the art gallery, and do the business you're doing up in the trees. The kiddies do not need to see that. Residents of the area previously tried to get rid of all this by putting in a playground, and the LGBTQ community went bonkers. Guys, is this really who you want representing you? The drug addicts who are doing whatever they're doing all over the place and in the trees and everywhere else. It's a little interesting you're fighting so hard for this. Of course, my favorite part of this was when city officials proposed a $500,000 improvement project that includes, all right, how do I clean this up for air? I got this. Okay. A public master bedroom deterrent infrastructure. Okay, that's what it is. So public master bedroom deterrent infrastructure. What exactly does that mean? Cold water sprayed everywhere or something? I mean, you got a look on your face. What are you thinking about there?
I'm just saying I don't think you can say master bedroom anymore.
Oh, right. That's racist now.
Yeah.
That'll come up
so
in the
you're going to have
report.
to say, what is it?
Masters of their domain?
No. I forget what the bedroom is. It's like the...
I can't say master anything.
Large bedroom now?
No, master is the problem.
I know.
That's the issue. Yes, you might say they're master debaters. This is the stuff we just, yes, we're cleaning it up for radio, but what exactly is the infrastructure they're proposing? Pictures that work in the other direction? I mean, cold water? What are we talking about here? Yeah, this is another day in Seattle. Should we just say about that? Another day in Seattle. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from John in Lakewood. John, what's up, man?
Yo, hey, Ari. Yeah, I was listening to you earlier talk about that. You know, that was a pretty horrific event down in Lacey, girl being strangled and everything. The problem I think we have is of the three major monotheistic religions. I'm not a big religious guy, but Christianity and Judaism, I believe, had violent pasts and have gone through a reformation period of being tolerant of other religions. Islam has not followed suit. And I think that's the problem with Islam in America. And there was a fellow named Jasser, or was it Zudi Jasser? I can't recall his first name, but he advocated for a moderation of Islam, and I could get behind that.
By the way, John, I will say this. I'm running short on time. There are a lot of people who are moderate members, who are moderate Muslims or moderate members of Islam. Yeah. Here's a scary thing to think about for a second. Even by their own numbers, they say that 10% of their population is radicalized. How many Muslims are there in the world? 1 billion. 1 billion.
Yeah.
So that means 100 million are radicalized, and that's by their own internal numbers.
They shouldn't be here, and that aspect of their religion should not be tolerated because it's alien to a Judeo-Christian nation, which we are.
Well, what I'm saying is, I'm not saying export all Muslims. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying the ones that come here specifically to tear down America, as I would say with anybody from any religion who wants to come here and undermine America, shouldn't be here. John, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show? You give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, why the GOP vote against releasing the Epstein files? It's actually a more simple explanation than you know, but that hasn't stopped conspiracy theorists. We'll give you all details when we come back. You'll listen to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Whatever my theories are about the Epstein files, whatever your theories are about the Epstein files and why they are or are not being disclosed, today's vote has a very simple explanation. So the media is going bonkers because every single Republican voted against Ro Khanna's bill to release the Epstein files. One, Ro Khanna is a radical Democrat. That's number one. Number two, President Trump, it's his party, and he's saying, guys, there's nothing to this. But number three, it's actually a very, very simple explanation. There were no carve-outs whatsoever to protect the victims. When you say release the files, does that mean you want them unredacted? Now, I want them as unredacted as possible, but there are still people whose identities, they were victims in this. Also, all those video files, the latest information is saying that a lot of those video files contain child pornography that Epstein or whoever used to watch. Do you really want that out in the world? So when you say release all the files, how come there are no carve-outs for any of that? Now, we can get into the back and forth over the files. And I got to tell you, I want the files released because I'm tired of every anti-Semitic conspiracy theory saying Jews or Israel or whoever had something to do with it. I would prefer they be out there so that everybody could stop with this nonsense. Like they were doing the same thing with the JFK and RFK assassination. It was the Jews. It was Israel. It was Jews. There is no proof to that whatsoever in any of those files. And it calmed down some of the crazies once it was out there because you say, really? Where's it? Show it to me in the files. Show it to me in the files. So in this case, I would love to see the files because I want all that information out there so people can stop with the conspiracy theory insanity. So while we all want it out there, you have to have carve-outs for the victims. Look, there are times we haven't reported the full context of this material because of other material. For example, Trooper Christopher Gadd. We had the full report for what happened to him when he was killed by that illegal immigrant driving at 107 miles an hour. I said I wouldn't read it on air. I said I wouldn't print it. I said I wouldn't put it out there. I would not do it because it's not right to his family. People shouldn't have to read that. And I'm glad the rest of the media did the same thing and said they weren't putting it out there. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from my good friend, Alma. Alma, what's going on?
Oh, my God, my best friend. You know why you guys don't want to release it? Because Trump's fingerprint is all over it.
All right, Alma, hang on. Let me ask you a realistic question. I want you to go with me down logic road for a minute here, okay? You just had 4 years of Joe Biden talking about how evil Trump is. They charged him with everything they could possibly think of. If Donald Trump was in the Epstein files and they controlled the Department of Justice, why wouldn't they have released it back then?
Because he wasn't the president, and we need to have that. Trump has 34 felons he got away with, and Lord forgive me if I'm wrong and right me. I believe he had something to do with Epstein's death.
Well, here's the thing. Hang on a second, Alma. Hang on. They tried everything they possibly could to get rid of him. In fact, Trump is in the Epstein files. You know where he is? He's one of the few people who actually spoke to federal investigators and told them everything they knew about his skeeziness. Trump did that, and that is well-known material. That is well-known material that is in those files. Alma, I am truly of the belief that the Democrats have tried every single thing they can to get Trump. And if Biden was president and they knew Trump was running for president, why would they hide that?
You're right. You know where Trump is in the Epstein file? All over TV, hugging up with them little young baby girls and Epstein. That's where Trump is. You can see him. Just look, he's all over it.
I haven't seen that, Alma, but I'll tell you something else here. Here's the question we should be asking. Here's the question we should be asking, all right? Here's the real question we should be asking. Who does both sides not want to be exposed by the files being out there? Or alternatively,
Trump.
No, the Democrats want that, Alma. The Democrats want that. They would want that out there, and now all of a sudden they're excited about this? No,
you're right.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is,
no,
Alma, he was calling for them to be released ages ago. So either there's nothing to this, Alma, either there's nothing to this, has been blown out of proportion, or alternatively, they're all covering for somebody. Appreciate the call, my darling. You enjoy the sunshine, okay? I'm
They're
sorry?
coming for Trump. I love you. They're coming for Trump.
Appreciate the call, Alma. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Okay, guys, I love the synonyms you sent me for master bedroom. I can't say some of them on the air. I can't say them. I like primary bedroom. Okay, but that doesn't go with the theme we were trying to convey before. That's the problem.
That's the term I was looking for, though. That's the
primary
PC way of
Oh,
saying
I
it.
see. I see.
Yes.
Yeah, but that doesn't go with the rest of the
it doesn't.
terminology
No.
we were trying to do with that. Oh dear. This one here from the 253. Oh no, this is from John. Ari, they're putting a lid on press conferences already regarding Mamdani. We've seen that playbook before. Do the voters see it? Yeah, I don't know about that. If they're actually going to see that one, I mean, sure, they'll see it on Twitter, but are they going to see it anywhere else is a very, very good question. Yes. All right, people, you're all very funny. You're all very entertaining, but I cannot read a lot of these suggestions on air. You are entertaining. When I come back, though, lots more to discuss as the show continues, including, did you know jogging is super, super racist? I think it just looks exhausting. I didn't know it was racist. We'll tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. An update to a story we did yesterday came out right before we went on air today. Remember yesterday we told you how somebody hacked the Elmo account over on social media and started putting out anti-Trump stuff, huge amount of anti-Semitic stuff talking about Epstein, and then stuff insulting African Americans. It was bad, really, really bad. Well, Sesame Street waited a while, and Elmo is apparently tweeting again. Yes, I'm sure that the puppet himself is the one tweeting. Elmo posted 6 hours ago. Now, this is the funny part, because 6 hours ago they post this and the memes are still going, right? So they post, "Thank you for being kind to Elmo and all the people in your neighborhood. Elmo loves you." And every single comment is a picture of the tweets, or a picture of Elmo in a Nazi uniform, or a picture of Elmo on trial in Israel, or a picture of Elmo in Inglourious Bastards. I did like the one where the bear Jew is coming out of the cave, and it says, "I'm just tickled that you said that," which is brilliant for anybody who's seen the movie. Yeah, so then I guess Sesame finally realized they got a real problem here, because this just ain't going away. So finally they issue a real apology. On Sunday, Elmo's X account was briefly hacked by an outside party in spite of security measures in place. Well, I mean, do you have a Muppet standing guard or something? You just get them into a game of counting, and all of a sudden they're gone. Yes, this hack was sponsored by the letter A and the number 4. So we strongly, wait, that's the password. Oh no, I see what happened there. We strongly condemn the abhorrent anti-Semitic and racist content, and the account has since been secured. These posts in no way reflect the values of Sesame Workshop or Sesame Street, and no one at the organization is involved, because a lot of people are speculating, was this an employee who started using it? Hey guys, why couldn't you have done this 2 days ago? Literally, you let, 48 hours go by before you did this? Was it so hard to do that, or was it just that the memes aren't going away? Well, now, my friends, you had 2 days of these memes, and now we're going to use them for the rest of time. Meanwhile, Jasmine Crockett thinks we should continue sponsoring PBS and NPR and all this. Well, I mean, when they produce such wonderful content like this, I don't know how we could say no to that.
When you start to talk about whether or not Sesame Street or anything else that's on NPR or PBS ends up in other places, this is so that there is not this warped thought process about the Western world or about the United States. We're talking about making sure that we don't end up allowing people to be radicalized against us because they have a terrible vision of us, because they may be in a government that actually puts out bad, terrible propaganda about us.
Do you really think that Afghanis or Iraqis or Palestinians or anybody else watching Sesame Street all of a sudden are going to like us because they have Sesame Street? Have you ever seen Palestine's, Gaza's version of Sesame Street? Because I have. It's got a giant Mickey Mouse-looking character whose name is Martyr Mouse. And they have these Israeli soldier-looking guys come in and kill the mouse. That was his grand finale. That was his swan song. They dance around about how much they want to kill the Jews. So yeah, let's spend more money on these versions of Sesame Street. Why don't we? That'll just work out great. You realize not every society likes to watch people with their hands up the butts of puppets. I'm sorry, I like Muppets. I like Sesame Street. But you know, some people are freaked out by puppets. Some people just are. Ugh, crazy stuff. Absolutely crazy stuff going on in the world. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Ron in Tacoma. Ron, what's up, man?
Wow, I had to call you because I got to get to the bottom of something before my brain explodes. I just don't understand this. Maybe you could explain it to me.
Oh, here we go. All right, go ahead.
All right. So I hear all over the place the last 4 days straight how the Republicans and Trump needs to release all the Epstein stuff. I would like to know how that's possible when 5 days ago it was reported that the evidence, including the Black Book, was part of a plea deal for Maxwell's case in the Southern District of New York.
Dude, hang on. Sidebar. Time out. I agree with you. Release the files, because why is Ghislaine Maxwell in jail if there's no files and no evidence and everything? Just release her. then she didn't do anything wrong. I'm on the same page as you. This was botched by Pam Bondi. This whole raising the expectation, then saying there's nothing there. Just do what they did with the JFK files. Do what they did with the RFK files. Do what they did with the MLK files. You know what? That's the problem. Jeffrey Epstein doesn't have a K at the end of his name. You need to have 3 initials and a K at the end, and then we will release your files. Ron, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, your chance to take the trip or keep the cash in our latest giveaway. Plus, lots more to talk about. The media, again, wants you to feel sympathetic for another local illegal alien criminal. We'll give you all details when we come back. You'll listen to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, the media wants you to feel sympathetic for another local illegal alien criminal. And Washington's spending is completely out of control. But before we get to any of that, you work hard. You play hard. You need a getaway. Perhaps you need some financial relief. We've got you covered with KVI's Take the Trip or Keep the Cash. Sponsored by our friends over at Budget Tank Removals. This week, you can get away to Maui, surf, sun, and sand, or have a chance at $3,000 cash. Now, when I give you the word, you are to text the word and only the word, not your name, not your address, not your phone number, none of your personal details. Not Ari Hoffman, you are the most good-looking man who has ever walked the earth, and I don't mind that you're going bald. None of that. Just the word. To the phone number I give you, and only the phone number I give you, not my social media profiles, not my email account, not that, just the phone number, and we'll get you in the daily drawing to get a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card, and you could win the trip or keep the cash with KVI. Today's word is do not call us either. Do not call us about that. Yes. Today's word is mist. M-I-S-T, as in the winter around Seattle. There's usually a little mist over the Puget Sound, as in Sierra Mist. See, Kevin likes that one. Okay, M-I-S-T, as in I missed you. No, that's the wrong way to spell it. Yes, okay, M-I-S-T, just kidding. So it is M-I-S-T. Text that to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. You have from now until 5 o'clock to enter. Your next chance at winning comes tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. during the morning ride with Phil and Zach. Check out danielsbroiler.com to reserve a table, place your takeout or delivery order, and so much more. Over the weekend, I saw this clip of Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz. She's really mad about alligator Alcatraz. Now, when I was flying down to Vegas, I saw that announcement from the Attorney General of Florida that they were selling alligator Alcatraz merch. So I bought it. Bought something for my father-in-law, my brother-in-law, everybody. Everybody's getting alligator Alcatraz merch. I got the hats. I got the T-shirts. I'm very excited. Very clever stuff. I'm very excited to wear my alligator Alcatraz hat. She's not happy about it. And then she said something, I don't think she realized how stupid it is. Give a listen.
So they essentially drink, they get their drinking water, and they brush their teeth where they poop in the same unit. They bragged that they went above standards, supposedly, and gave them a 3-foot privacy wall that stretches the length inside the 32 detainee cage. A 3-foot privacy wall that stretches the length of the 3 toilets.
Okay, can we do that one again, just the beginning for a second here?
So they essentially drink, they get their drinking water, and they brush their teeth where they poop.
Okay, how many of you out there have a bathroom? How many of you out there have a bathroom where the toilet is in the same room as the sink and the bathtub and the shower? Isn't that most people? I mean, I like that the primary bedroom, I've been told using the term master bedroom is now racist. I mean, my primary bedroom, my master bedroom, does have the little door thing around the toilet. We do have those, but every other bathroom in my house has the toilet right there next to the sink, right in line with that sink. Kevin, tell us about your house.
Well, my manor has 7 bathrooms, and one we use for brushing your teeth.
Yes.
One for number 2s and number 1s. That's why, so on. Et cetera.
I got you. Yes. Yeah. So many people have the 7 bathrooms, right? Where you this is the one where we do here, and this is what we do there. And are you kidding me? Give me a break. Everybody's bathroom has this. Here's something else, by the way. It's jail for criminals. Lady, have you ever seen a prison movie or a show? The toilets are in the cell. In a lot of these places. This actually happens to be a little bit nicer. I saw the interior view. There is that 3-foot wall. so people don't have to watch you do all that stuff. But you know, it's all built in. Here's a better one for you. You ever been on Amtrak? Have you ever seen the bathrooms on Amtrak? My God, some of the nastiest things I've ever seen in my life, and the government pays for those. I don't hear you complaining about that. Wait, Kevin, we need to address this. Every time I get on an airplane, I have to use the sink where I poop. I will not stand for this anymore. I want them to bring me the water in those paper carton things, which freak me out. I don't know why, that now they're giving out on Alaska as opposed to water in water bottles. I don't know if it's healthier or not. I don't know. But I want them to bring that to me at my seat with a basin so I can wash my hands and not have to go to the bathroom where the water is. Right? Okay.
Your first problem is you're pooping on an airplane, man.
Dude, nobody wants to do that.
No.
That's a desperation move.
Absolutely.
We all know that. Like sometimes, okay. Here, funny story.
My body goes into airplane mode along with my phone. And believe me, I've flown to Croatia, and that's like altogether a 16-hour flight.
That's a long thing. Right. So when I go to Israel and I'm flying for like a better part of 24 hours, it's like, nope, wait till I get there. Just
Yep.
Okay, so here's the worst story ever. I should not be sharing this. My wife's going to kill me. So we're coming back from Mexico, and this is the first time I've ever been to Mexico, and me and my wife go. And must have gotten the Montezuma's revenge or something. So what happens is we have to stop over in Texas to get back here to Seattle. It's a common way to go. So we land in Texas. Everything's fine. And then we take off, and we're flying to Seattle. And then my wife goes, I don't feel so good.
Uh-oh.
And she just goes bolting up the plane. All right, fine, whatever. And I'm like, oh, that really sucks. Uh-oh. I don't feel so good.
Oh,
right?
no.
We both came back with bad news, but you don't want to be using those bathrooms. You know the only thing worse than when you have to use the bathroom? When you got a kid on the airplane. And the kid has to use the bathroom. And the kid has gone through, so parents, especially first-time parents, you pack like 10 outfits for the kid, and you're like, I'm covered. I'm covered for everything. That's the day the kid has explosive you-know-what. And that's the day you run out of clothes. And by the end, you're going to the gift shop. You think those gift shops are for you. No, my friends, they are for desperate parents, because then you are so desperate, and they don't sell kids' clothing in those things. No, you got to like buy a Mets sweatshirt that's like a 3XL for like $75. And you got to wrap your kid up in it. You want to know why there's so much Mets gear in my house? Because we're always flying back and forth to New York, and that's what's available in the airport. Yeah, plane travel. Yeah, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, I feel your pain. I truly, truly do, that you have to brush your teeth where you poop. But this nonsense of trying to make us feel bad for the illegal immigrant criminals has not stopped. Seattle Times and King 5 both have these really long articles. Have these really long articles about Alfredo Lilu Juarez Zifarinu, a 25-year-old union farm worker activist. Just remember that, activist for a second, who has been detained by Immigration and Customs Enforcement for nearly 4 months. He decided on Monday to leave the country voluntarily. Good. You should have done it in the first place. Should we feel bad for him that he was detained for 4 months because he shouldn't have been here legally in the first place? They try to make you feel bad for him because he's just a young kid and he's a union activist and he's just a farm worker. All right, I know this shtick. We've been through this shtick a bunch of times now. So, what crime did he commit? Ready? I'm going to count paragraphs before we get there in the Seattle Times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. By the way, the article is 19 paragraphs long. So you're at the 15th paragraph before they mention the crime that he committed. Would you like to know what it was? When he was 15 years old, he was arrested during a traffic stop by Bellingham police and sent to an ICE detention facility. Well, that doesn't sound like such a big deal. So I did a little Googling on our friend Zifarino when he was 15. He took his mom's car and was driving the wrong way on a freeway. It wasn't a traffic stop like, oh, I got pulled over for a broken taillight or something like that. He was driving the wrong way, underage, with his mom's car, which I'm not sure he took with permission or not. If you're in this country illegally, you should be keeping your nose clean. If you're in this country legally, you should be keeping your nose clean. If you're born in this country, you should be keeping your nose clean. And instead, this kid took the car for a joyride on the freeway going the wrong direction when he was 15 years old. Somebody want to tell me what the driving age here is in Seattle now? I think it's 16. I think it's 16 in Washington State. I could be wrong, but I have to double check. So, somebody want to tell me why we should feel bad for this kid? I don't. So, he's a devoted organizer. Oh, that's what it is. By the way, guys, we're on to your game. All I did was go to the bottom of the article and go, all right, what crime did he commit? They always pick the absolute worst martyrs. King 5 is no better at all. Hang on. Where does King 5 actually say the crime he committed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, it doesn't say the crime. It says that he was a citizen of Mexico who was ordered by an immigration judge in 2018 to be removed from the country. So what's he still doing here? 6, 7, 8. Oh, ICE said its agency arrested him after he refused to comply with lawful commands. So now you are not obeying the commands of a federal agent. 6, 7, 8, 9. Here we go. 10th paragraph. 10 years ago, when he was a teenager, Bellingham police pulled Juarez over for driving the wrong way on a one-way street in his parents' car without a license. At least King 5 has more integrity than the Seattle Times and actually lists what this kid did. Didn't try to make it a traffic stop. He then admitted he was undocumented, but lied to police about his age, saying he was 18 when he was 15. So, somebody want to tell me why this is the best and brightest, why this is the one we should be keeping in the country? We shouldn't be. Because for everyone like that, there's also these. According to Fox News, a Customs and Border Protection spokesperson confirmed Tuesday that 5 Iranians were arrested while attempting to illegally cross the U.S. northern border with Canada. On July 1st, Border Patrol agents from the Champaign, New York station responded to suspicious activity near Moores Forks, New York. Okay, I grew up in New York. I have no idea where any of these places are. So the Border Patrol Swan sector said on Facebook, agents located a minivan occupied by 5 citizens of Iran and 2 citizens of Uzbekistan. The station is part of the Swanton sector. Swanton is a rural town in Vermont near Highway 89, just south of the Canadian border. I see. Okay, I understand. CBP said all 7 men have been previously arrested for attempting to cross the border illegally. All 7 aliens are detained and awaited deportation. I wonder if they played the meow game with them or any of the other games. Sounds like the Border Patrol, the Highway Patrol was up there, right? They are currently detained and pending removal orders. Border security is national security and directly correlates to public safety, said Swanton sector agents, who are remaining vigilant and committed to protecting our borders and enforcing immigration laws, according to the CBP. Earlier this month, a counterterrorism expert told Fox News that Iranian terrorist sleeper cells could be hiding in plain sight. The U.S. military crippled several Iranian nuclear sites after targeted airstrikes on June 22nd. Former FBI Special Agent Terrorism Task Force member Jonathan Gilliam said, where these sleeper cells may be is in plain sight. And that's the real terrifying part of this. That putting people in place, as we've seen over the past 4 years, everyone's scrambling because certain amounts of people could come here and get in here. Gilliam pointed to the Biden administration's border policies as a reason for concern. They could even go to the border and say they want to seek asylum in the Biden administration instead of putting them into DHS housing or ICE housing and holding them up so they can have their first appearance to be vetted or whether or not they get asylum. Instead, they just release them into the country. By the way, you want to blame somebody for everything that's going on right now? You shouldn't be blaming Donald Trump. You should be blaming Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and all the Democrats who said, come to the country. We don't care if it's illegal. Come to the country. Bring your problems. Bring your criminal record. Bring everything. They put these people in this situation. They did this. In a 2023 terrorism report released by the State Department in December last year, the federal government outlined numerous instances of worrying behavior by Iranian nationals in Western countries. In 2023, the U.S. Department of Justice unsealed an indictment charging 3 individuals connected with Iran in a plot to assassinate an Iranian dissident in New York City. The report also said that in 2023, a UK court found a man guilty of attempting to collect information for terrorist purposes on the London-based Iran International, a media company that is critical of the Iranian regime. In recent years, Albania, Belgium, and the Netherlands have all either arrested, convicted, or expelled Iranian government officials implicated in various terrorist plots in their respective territories. Denmark similarly recalled its ambassador for Tehran after learning of an Iran-backed plot to kill an Iranian dissident in that country. Do you know how lucky we are that we dodged the bullet? Do you have any idea how lucky we are that we have so far? And by the way, we still don't know everybody who's in this country. They're still working on rounding them up. We could still have terrorist cells in this country, and unfortunately, likely do. There is this story I saw out of the UK, mentioned in the UK, where a British schoolgirl was punished for wearing a Union Jack flag dress. What's even worse, it was a day in the UK where you're supposed to be proud of your heritage, and she was punished for wearing her own country's flag. That's what happens with unchecked illegal immigration. You lose your country to the third world, which is exactly what has happened to the UK. And it's only getting worse. And there's people here who are supporting this nonsense because they want to see the end of America the same way the UK's falling. A California professor, according to the New York Post, was arrested for allegedly chucking a tear gas canister and ICE agents during a raid on a marijuana farm, being investigated for child labor violations. So this is the one that got raided last Thursday. Jonathan Anthony Caravallo. By the way, you know what this guy looks like? He looks like Dr. Oken in Independence Day with the white hair, but it just hasn't gone white yet. So this guy looks like a really sane individual. Let's just put that out there. He's a math and philosophy professor at California State University, Channel Islands. Was arrested by federal agents conducting a raid at Glass House Farms in Ventura County on Thursday. That's the one where they found all those kids who were being used as illegal labor. This guy was throwing a gas canister at the ICE agents. He should rot in jail. So this winner is a college professor. What do you think he's teaching the kids in his class? By the way, saw this right before we went on air that former Spokane City Council President Ben Stuckert, along with several others, have been indicted by a federal grand jury on charges related to the violent protest against ICE last month. This is huge news, by the way. We've been waiting for this stuff to hit Washington. They've been charging these guys federally down in Portland. It's about time it happened here in Washington. According to court documents, Stuckert and 8 others were indicted on charges of conspiracy to impede or injure officers, and 2 other people facing charges of assault on federal officers and employees. Let's remember, this wasn't a peaceful protest. They were like trying to burst the tires of the ICE vehicles and more. Stuckert himself has been charged with conspiracy to impede or injure officers. All 9 people arrested are expected to make federal arraignments and hearings at the federal courthouse at Spokane today. We'll wait for more information and see how that actually went down and if they're being released or they're being held in federal detention. A lot more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. Washington's out-of-control spending is being noticed by people across the country. We'll tell you how bad it is when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KBI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. There is this story here that's been going viral locally because of where Washington is on the list. It's states with the highest tax burden. So, according to Fox 13, property taxes are one of the most significant ongoing expenses homeowners face. The taxes are meant to fund local government services such as infrastructure, schools, and other essential systems. The specific fee is calculated based on a home's value and its location, though the amount can vary annually based on local tax laws and home value. Typically, if someone's home is more valuable, they will owe more in property taxes. Home values are also reevaluated as often as every year, which means property tax bills can change. Here's something else. Locally, especially in Seattle and King County, they artificially inflate your property values. You could have a massive homeless encampment in front of your house, but they go, well, it's supposed to be a nice neighborhood, so we're going to jack up those property values so we could charge them more in property taxes. My property taxes have more than tripled in the last 20 years. It is insane how crazy they are now. I don't know how people afford it. I really, really don't. It's a stretch. So the median property in the U.S. saw its property tax bill grow by 2.8% from 2023 to 2024, as over 73% of properties had tax increases during that time. So this one here is that many are having trouble protesting their property values. I do this every year. Every year I get that form, I fill it out, and every year I get rejected time and time again. So would you like to know the states with the highest property tax burden? This is from order from highest to lowest. Here's your top 10. Number 1 is New Jersey, which I find very entertaining because I was originally, when me and my wife were debating where to move, we were originally looking New Jersey or Washington. And for a New Yorker to move to New Jersey, that's like a Seattleite moving to Tacoma. That's just not something we're going to do. So I don't want New Jersey on my license. So I go, you know what, sweetie, you always want to live near your family or whatever. Maybe we should just head on out there. And wow, the cost of living was so much cheaper when I moved here 22 years ago. So it's funny that New Jersey's number 1. New Hampshire's number 2. Then comes Connecticut. Then comes, I assume it's going to be like New York or California. Nope. Washington State is number 4 in how much they're hitting you with your property tax value. We're above New York. We're above California. We're above Washington, D.C. We're above everybody, which is absolutely crazy. In fact, I look at other states and I cry. I cry a little bit. Let me tell you why. So this one here, Ron DeSantis posted this just the other day. Florida's economy ranks number 1 for the 3rd year in a row, according to CNBC. Florida had the lowest number of state workers per capita, the lowest debt per capita, the second lowest spending per capita, no income tax, the number 1 public higher education system, the lowest in-state tuition, universal school choice, law and order policies, and we're number 1 for new business formations. How do you destroy a state? Look at everything here in Washington. Just the other day, we did that same CNBC study, and it showed that Washington is losing, actually going down in every single one of these categories. Now, this from Headline USA, Washington state government spending surges 116% since 2015. That's right, we're in this mess. Oh, excuse me, wrong source. This is from the Center Square. Washington state faces deficit spending by 2028 as lawmakers just hit taxpayers with the state's largest combined tax increases, all driven by massive state spending increases over the past decade. Washington state spent about $80 billion in the 2013-15 budget, but is now set to spend more than $173 billion in 2025 through 2027 biennium. That's a more than 116% increase over that time. U.S. inflation has risen just 35.63%. I say just. But when you put those two things in comparison, it's insane. The surge in spending of taxpayer dollars prompted some policy analysts and lawmakers to say the increases must end sooner or later. Washington State Economic and Revenue Forecast Council member and ranking minority member for the House Appropriations, our friend Representative Travis Couture, told the Center Square that only winners in Olympia are politicians, bureaucrats, and criminals. He says at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, what did we get in the new spending? At the end of the day, we don't see the results we're spending on. So let's take homelessness, for example. We spend all this money addressing homelessness, housing affordability. And what have you done? The place has only gotten less affordable. You only have more people living on the streets. You only have more drug addicts living here. You've been funneling more and more money at this problem, and it's only gotten worse. How about public schools? We spend among the highest in the U.S. per student on the schools, and yet we have some of the worst schools in the U.S. and some of the worst grades in the U.S. How much money we spend on transportation? The question we should be asking is how much money do we tax you in transportation? Are our roads in better shape than other people's? You know, it's crazy to me. Our roads are so bad that when I was in Vegas, Kevin, you go to Vegas a lot. Maybe you've noticed this. When I'm in Vegas, I'm looking around, I'm going, the roads are amazing here. Well kept, in good shape, and they have extreme temperature. We don't have extreme temperature, and yet our roads are garbage. I just don't like the signs on the strip. They're a little confusing. East, north, the GPS sucks at it too, by the way. That curve coming around to go onto the strip, it always wants you to go the other way. Makes no sense. But aside from that.
And the raw sewage smell walking down the strip sometimes. But I mean, I guess you'd get used to that from New York, being from New York.
I didn't even notice. So it shows how long I was in New York for.
Walk down the strip, though?
I walked down the strip a little bit on Friday when it was in the 90s. I mean, high 90s. I didn't notice the raw sewage. Which end do you smell the raw sewage at?
This is just like, sometimes you walk by, they got the little drain right there. It's a little sewagey from time to time.
You know what I do miss from New York, New York? They used to pipe in that smell of the subway and the pretzels, and I'm like, yes, I'm home. And I didn't smell that when I was there this time. Oh, what a bummer. Anyway, I look at the streets in Las Vegas, and I'm thinking to myself, these are amazingly kept streets. And Nevada's a purple state. But here we spend all this money, and what do we get for it? What do we get? Absolutely nothing. Things have only gotten worse. We're number 4 out of the top 5 of the highest property taxes in the U.S. Florida is thinking of getting rid of property taxes and still is able to spend on whatever they want because everybody moved out of here. You know who we got instead? We got Californians. We got the California exodus. 1 million people came from California to here since the last census. But if you ask Gavin Newsom about this, he says, no, just a myth. You mean it's a myth that you lost congressional seats?
Did you come here to hang out with the 92,000 Californians that infiltrated?
You hit me right there, man. The California exit. By the way, complete bullshit. Now, the last 2 years, we've seen significant growth in California's population. So it's reversed and record-breaking tourism. Now the 4th largest economy in the world. We dominate in every major industry, including the number 1 manufacturing state in America, 41% larger than the next largest state. And so we're really proud of California. And we went through a little rocky period over a 2-year period where there were some adjustments all across the country, one of 18 states.
Mm-hmm.
Many red states, too, not just blue states, that saw an adjustment of population during COVID.
Oh, give me a break. An adjustment of population? You know which red states he's including in that number? I went and checked. I went to see what he's talking about. He looked at states that had an adjustment in population, not necessarily a loss or a gain. Florida's included. So all the people that went from California to Florida had an adjustment. They lost congressional seats. Nothing he said in that is true. Nothing. You want to talk about how many businesses they lost? When we come back, my friends, the big, beautiful bill is law. But what is it going to do for us here in Washington? Senate Republican leader John Braun will be dropping by to explain. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. About the big, beautiful bill and what it's going to do nationally, but the question is, what is it going to do for us here in Washington? Joining us now to discuss, Senate Republican leader John Braun. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Always a pleasure. So when is this stuff going to affect us? Let's start with that.
Well, it's a big bill, right? A lot of different things, but the very soonest anything has an impact on Washington is the end of 2026, so almost a year and a half from now. And then most of the things that have significant impact over time, they fold out over 5 or more years. So this is a long-term adjustment, as it should be. When you tinker with funding for health care, you got to do, even if and some of the stuff we do right now is nonsensical, but you can't change it too quickly because organizations have come to rely on it and they have to have a time to transition. States have to have time to transition. So it's laid out in a long-term transition to a smarter, more accountable implementation of Medicaid to serve our most vulnerable in Washington and around the country.
So then hang on a second. If this thing doesn't start for a while, what the hell is Bob Ferguson and the Democrats talking about where they're saying we need to be prepared, it's going to affect our budget? That just sounds political. It sounds like this could be addressed in the next legislative session.
Absolutely, it could be, and absolutely the governor is turning this into a political hot potato because it serves his needs. He can, then he can throw darts at the Republicans in D.C. and try to distract the people here in Washington from the $13 billion in new taxes he signed here a couple months ago, and the budget he signed that overspends in some areas and then makes unnecessary cuts and harmful cuts in other areas. So he's got a lot of distracting to do, and this fits his needs for that.
Yeah, sure sounds like it. We're talking with Senate Republican leader John Braun. So let's get into the meat of this thing. What does this thing do that we like, us conservatives, few and far between here in Washington? What does this do for us here locally?
Well, I mean, it has a lot of impacts. I'll start with, Medicaid, because that's what's gotten the most attention in the news, and the Democrats have been off, fear-mongering about what this does. But fundamentally, what it does is adds accountability and some assurance that the money that we spend in Washington state, and understand it's almost all federal money, but it's administered through the state, is done well and done efficiently and with accountability. It makes sure it puts in work requirements so that if you are an able-bodied individual, no dependents, meaning no kids, no single parents involved here, no disability, no elderly, that you have to work at least 20 hours a week or volunteer or get training 20 hours a week. So relatively low bar, but you have to be out there trying to improve your situation to qualify for Medicaid. It also it does a couple other things that kind of down in the details, but big deal for Washington State. It says you got to verify twice a year that you are eligible. And that's, they're trying to make a big deal about that, but we do things all the time. Think about, we have to pay our utility bills every month. Twice a year is not a huge impact. And the other thing, and we pushed this in Washington this last session, is we have a lot of people who are signed up for Medicaid in multiple states. In Washington right now, if we could eliminate the folks who are signed up in 2 different, Washington and 1 other states, that would save us $150 million. Imagine that. $150 million. The individual isn't getting any more health care because they're signed up in 2 places. Who knows why they're signed up in 2 places? But a little effort to have them signed up just once, meaning only 1 state is paying, has huge savings for Washington and states across the country, and doesn't take even a little bit of health care away from anyone. These are just common sense accountability measures. When you ask people about them, broadly popular across the political spectrum, that will make sure that when we collectively as a country or in Washington state specifically, spend money for Medicaid, it's going towards the folks who truly need it.
And this was also something that Democrats, up until 5 minutes ago, we have montage after montage that we played on the show of Democrats supporting all these policies. Now it just seems like the reason they don't want to do it is because Donald Trump came up with it, or because they're worried about losing their voting bloc of the illegal immigrants who they claim aren't on Medicaid who are, or they're worried about people not voting for them who are the people who are freeloading off Medicaid. It seems like this is completely political, their opposition to any reforms.
That's the way I see it. I think the governor in particular has chosen to fearmonger on this, but it's coming from all angles. They're getting help from traditional media in some cases, and it's One, it's because it's coming from the wrong source. It can't be good if Republicans saw the idea, and we've seen that movie before here in Washington State. It's a good idea unless it's a Republican idea. And two, it distracts from the very poor decisions they made in the last session to refuse to reduce their spending to a reasonable level and instead jack up taxes across the board, particularly on working Washingtonians.
It's absolutely insane. All right, so leaving aside Medicaid for a minute, we're speaking with Senate Republican leader John Braun. What else does the big, beautiful bill do for us here in Washington?
Well, I think the other big thing it does is preserve the tax reductions that were put in place in 2017. And a lot of folks, because they've been living with them for a few years, don't understand how big an impact that would be. That takes, under the current rules, they simplified. Most folks don't itemize anymore. They take the standard deduction. If you're doing your taxes, the standard deduction right now is $30,000. That would have dropped to, I believe, $12,500. And that difference, that, whatever it is, $17,500, everybody would have had to pay tax on that. Whatever your tax rate is, you would have paid more tax on that. It also eliminates tax for tips, for retirement, for overtime in some cases. And all of those specific cuts are very tightly aimed at the middle class. They don't wealthier folks don't qualify for them. They're aimed at the middle class. So it's a big tax reduction for average Washingtonians who, frankly, are having trouble affording living here in our state. So that's a big thing. We can also talk, there's a bunch of stuff on energy. There's a bunch of stuff on ag. Ag is one of the biggest sectors here in the state of Washington. And the bill itself provides a lot of long-term stability and policy for our agricultural sector, which I think ultimately will be very good for the state of Washington for our economy.
This all sounds great, especially given the fact of how unaffordable Democrats have made it here in Washington, so a little help from the feds will be very, very helpful. Senate Republican leader John Braun, thank you so much for joining us today, especially when you guys aren't in session, especially when it's such a beautiful day outside. Really appreciate you taking the time to spend it with us.
You bet. Thanks for having me on.
Always a pleasure. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just want to remind you, you have just over 10 minutes to get in the keyword that I mentioned at 4 o'clock for your chance to take the trip or keep the cash. If you didn't hear the keyword, your next chance to hear a keyword is tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. during the morning ride with Zach and Phil. I am warning anybody who hasn't seen the Superman movie, who plans on seeing the Superman movie, I'm going to give a spoiler away here. It's not a big one, but just letting you know. Because I've seen so much garbage written online about the Superman movie that it has to be Lex Luthor's monkey bot farm. I actually laughed out loud at that scene in the movie. So Lois Lane, you've seen this scene in the trailers. Lois Lane is interviewing Clark Kent / Superman about how there's been a lot of online hate against him. And this is a key plot point in the movie, how people are sort of over the newness, the freshness of Superman, and it seems like public opinion is turning against him. And it turns out that the online hate is a Lex Luthor bot farm that is writing mean things about Superman. Okay, we're done with spoilers. That's it. No more spoilers. The reason I find this entertaining is because there are a ton of people writing these bad things about the new Superman movie, and they're making me defend it, and I don't even know if I like the thing or not, which is a weird place to be in. We discussed yesterday during The Real Deal, and we have that interview up over on, and we have that segment up on my social media where I was discussing, I'm not even sure I like this thing, but so many people are writing such garbage about it. I wonder if it's the Snyder Bros. Do you remember what we found out after the Snyderverse, Zack Snyder's Justice League and all that stuff? All these people bring back the Snyderverse, release the Snyder Cut. There was a whole bunch of bots doing that. Well, there's a whole bunch of people trashing the Superman movie. And the more and more I look at what they write, the more I'm thinking to myself, have you fools even seen this? There's a post that was put up claiming the thing is anti-Semitic. And this one was from an account with somebody with 25,000 followers. And they claim that this was from some Jewish rapper who I've never heard of in my life, by the way. Then again, I don't like rap and I don't like Jewish music. So you put the two together and those are two art forms I am not going to be listening to. Sorry, guys. That's just me. But this guy, it's a whole diatribe about how anti-Israel it is. I don't know what the hell movie he saw, because I saw the same movie, and you know me. If there's something that's anti-Israel, I'm going to call it out. I have no idea what this guy is talking about. The cast was great. James Gunn's take on it is interesting, very interesting. But people are losing their minds over this movie. And I'm convinced that it's Lex Luthor's bot farm. Somebody's trying to take down Superman. Now, I love all the people on the right who are still spouting that it's anti-American and woke. It's none of those things. Do you know what could have been? The Wall Street Journal had an article out last week, the day the Superman movie was released, about how this movie came to be. We did a story back in like the first year of the Ari Hoffman Show that far-left radical activist Ta-Nehisi Coates was one of the people approached about writing the new Superman movie back in 2021 or 2022. How do you think that movie would have looked by the guy who says he would have participated in the October 7th terrorist attacks?
And I haven't said this out loud, but I think about it a lot. Were I 20 years old, born into Gaza, which is a giant open-air jail, and what I mean by that is if my father is a fisherman and he goes too far out into the sea, he might get shot by somebody off of, the side of Israeli boats. If my mother picks the olive trees and she gets too close to the wall, she might be shot. If my little sister has, cancer and she needs treatment because there are no, facilities to do that in Gaza and I don't get the right permit, she might die. And I grow up under that oppression and that poverty and the wall comes down. Am I also strong enough or even constructed in such a way where I say, this is too far? I don't know that I am. I don't know that I am.
He made those disgusting false comments on Trevor Noah's podcast just last year. I don't know if you remember, we shredded him at the time. 1, Yahya Sinwar, who's the head of Hamas, got treatment for cancer in Israel. They cured him of brain cancer, and he went on to kill everybody on October 7th. Also, this whole nonsense of the fishing boats and being shot by the wall for getting too close for picking olives, that just doesn't happen. So he's spewing all this nonsense. Can you imagine what he would have done to Superman? According to the Wall Street Journal, around the same time in 2022, Zaslav was exploring how to fix DC. He dismissed as too woke a script being written by Ta-Nehisi Coates about a black Superman in the civil rights era, according to people familiar with the matter. I remember this nonsense. I remember him being tasked with writing it. And you know what? I got no issue with a black Superman. John Henry Irons, right out of the comic books. There's things you can do there. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. These characters already exist. But putting it in the hands of somebody like Ta-Nehisi Coates, you would think these online bot farms thought it was something like that. Okay, you don't like the movie. Does that mean you have to make stuff up about it? It's insane. Go see the Superman movie. Judge for yourself. Think about what it looks like. When we come back, my friends, the final hour free for all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, plus so much more. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour, free for all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up at 5:45. Your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card and tickets to the Washington State Fair. But before we get to any of that, my friends, got a lot of texts over here on the Warrior Injury Law text line. This one's from Michael in Camino Island. Michael says Republicans hated the new Snow White movie, so the Democrats have to hate a white male Superman. What's interesting is normally I would agree with you, Michael, but the backlash to the Superman movie is coming from the right. It's almost like they don't want to admit that they jumped all over the one James Gunn comment saying it was about immigrants, took it out of context, jumped the shark with it, and said, oh, it's woker man. Oh, it's the wokest Superman ever. It seems like a lot of them right now have just shut up about it. And this reminds me of the Top Gun thing. Remember the controversy about Top Gun Maverick before it came out? Where they said, oh, China's an investor. And they removed that Chinese flag on Maverick's jacket. And, oh, it's going to be anti-American because China invested. And then Mike and I go to the screening, and wouldn't you know, jacket looks exactly the right way, looks perfectly fine. And it turns out that China pulled out as an investor because it was too pro-America. So,
Taiwanese flag, right?
That's what it was.
That's what it was on the
Taiwanese flag, not the Chinese flag. Right, it was the Taiwanese flag. They didn't like that thank you, Kevin, that the Taiwanese flag was on Maverick's jacket and they were going to Photoshop it out or whatever it was. So the hate in this case is coming from the right. And I think the Snyder bots. Here's another one here from John in Lakewood. Ari, property tax in Washington should be like California Proposition 13, where your value with reasonable inflation adjustment is what you pay for as long as you remain there. By the way, love that one. And so it is for a successive California owner. In Washington, taxes not based on need or demand for services, only on arbitrary assessor valuation. We won an appeal in 2012 when we paid at arm's length transaction in a price significantly lower than Pierce County assessed value. County always right unless preponderance of your evidence proves otherwise. Good for another year, then a battle through the stacked board of equalization. Yeah, by the way, stupid me. I did an appeal one year. I did the appeal, or I filed the paperwork rather, because I did an addition on my house. And you get a 3-year thing where they won't raise the valuation of your house. Then they come down on you like a ton of bricks afterwards. It's almost like putting up a flag like, hey, tax me more. I added on to my house. It's worth more money now. Holy cow. That's when these increases started going through the roof. Switching gears, back to what's going on over at Washington, D.C., most people have no idea what the CUNY colleges are. CUNY is City University of New York. I've seen people mispronouncing it all over the CCNY, the CUNY. I've seen it all. It's pronounced CUNY. That's how you pronounce it when you're from New York. It's a series of colleges in the 5 boroughs: Queens College, Brooklyn College, Manhattan, City College. You've heard of a lot of these places before. But they're all run by the same system, the City University of New York. Now, I believe that the CUNY system has had the most issues with the pro-Hamas insanity on campus, the most issues with anti-Semitism, but it's gone under the radar because people have been focused on Harvard. People have been focused on Yale. People have been focused on Columbia. People have been focused on UCLA. People have been focused on University of Washington. Even University of Washington has gone more under the radar because of all the Ivy League places, and they should be thankful for that. But today, Chancellor Felix Matos Rodriguez was in the hot seat. Now, here's examples of how bad this place is. When you have an issue on campus, you have to go to this DEI committee that has on it people from CARE, an organization affiliated with a terrorist organization. At Queens College, I used to spend a lot of time at Queens College. I was in their a cappella group because my school didn't have one. Yes, make all the jokes you like. But the a cappella group was in the student union building. Student unions where a lot of the clubs hang out. The Jewish Hillel there was right across the hall from the Muslim activities, the Muslim student group. Never any issues at all. At all. Now, I hear it's nonstop. The stuff that's happening on these campuses is out of control. I am so glad Elise Stefanik is not the UN ambassador. I'll tell you why. 2 reasons. One is that she's probably going to run for governor of New York and take down Kathy Hochul, and that would be awesome. But 2, if she's not in this hearing, we don't get a lot of this awesome content. Here's Elise Stefanik grilling this guy, and I want you to listen to his canned answers. His canned answers, and realize this guy isn't denying anything she's saying.
Thank you. I want to begin by discussing the heinous scourge of anti-Semitism on your watch as chancellor at CUNY. You are aware at Baruch, Jewish freshmen were welcomed with heinous anti-Semitic taunts about the hostages killed by Hamas. Quote, "Where's Hirsch, you ugly expletive. Go bring them home," end quote. Quote, "You ain't going home tonight. Go back to Brooklyn. All Zionists are terrorists," end quote. Are you aware of those anti-Semitic harassment slurs?
Those are deplorable statements, and if they were associated with the event at Baruch, an investigation was done and students were disciplined.
And students were disciplined in both of those cases? At Hunter, Jewish students were forced to enter the main university building under a swastika for hours. Is that correct?
My understanding of that is that the swastika was placed outside, and we have a custom of erasing all such deplorable symbols. In that particular case, there was a delay because it had to be referred to the NYPD for the anti-hate investigation.
Let me remind you of this particular case, because that's not according to your own staff. In fact, the Hunter College Director of Jewish Studies emailed university leadership requesting that the swastika be taken down. And instead, this was the response for everyone to see. Apologies, but it is not that simple. Is that the position of CUNY?
It is entirely unacceptable.
And was this administrator disciplined who emailed?
Again, in that particular case, we were working with the New
No,
York City Police
was this
Department.
administrator disciplined for sending this response?
Any case that we have will investigate, and the appropriate action will be taken.
So what was the appropriate action taken against this administrator in this case?
In this case, as I mentioned to you, we are working with the New York City Police Department.
So no disciplinary action has been taken by CUNY? Is that correct?
We will investigate any action.
So an investigation, but no actual action.
Now, that's the thing. This guy, the entire time, has his talking points, and he's not going to deviate from them. It's almost as bad as pleading the fifth with Joe Biden's doctor. This guy just sticks to the script. He doesn't want to get caught in one of these no context, it depends on the context issues, right? Like Harvard did. He doesn't want to deal with any of that, so he just keeps repeating the same thing over and over again. Basically, the investigations were done by an organization with this ties to a Hamas-affiliated group.
But it's not just this case. You talked about how you focused on this since 2019. But let me remind you, in 2021, you hired Abdi Allah as CUNY's Chief Diversity Officer, and this role includes overseeing anti-Semitism complaints and initiatives. Were you aware at that time that this senior administrator you hired was previously employed by CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations?
Gentlelady will suspend
my time. Can you hold the time? It was 2:25.
We'll hold the time.
Does the committee have a policy on publicizing people's personal emails?
This is a university.
Okay, so here's what they're arguing right now. This is important, by the way. If you have a public email account, you don't have the same privacy rights as, let's say, you were to post some random person's email account online. If they're paid for by the state, you have to assume that everything, including the address itself, is going to be public information.
Administrator's email.
Email addresses.
No, we don't have a policy, I'm told, on that. And again, this is at the university.
This is a university email, a public university in the state of New York. Following up at 2:25, which my time is, I'm referencing the CUNY Chief Diversity Officer, who you hired in 2021. They were previously employed by CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations. Is that correct?
So she was hired to be the Chief Diversity Officer at the central office with no responsibility over cases that have to deal with students or faculty.
But yet you were aware that she was previously employed by CARE.
Again, I was not directly responsible for that.
Even though she was the Senior Chief Diversity Officer?
As I mentioned to you, I was not directly responsible for that hire.
So is it okay, from your perspective, obviously it is, to have a former employee of CARE? Let me remind you, CARE was a co-conspirator in a terrorist financing case and has ties to Hamas, a designated terrorist organization. Is she currently still employed by CUNY?
She is.
There you go. So no action, just words here today.
Exactly. You had a person who was part of an organization that was allied with Hamas, tied to Hamas, and that's the person in charge of your DEI department and all your DEI priorities. So when Jewish kids went to complain, who are they going to? Somebody who's aligned with Hamas. And this person still works for them? This is the person still working for them? And you're telling me you're taking anti-Semitism seriously? By the way, it gets worse. Apparently, these colleges were doing free legal help for Mahmoud Khalil. You know, the guy who led the riots at Columbia, the guy who locked Hispanic and black janitors in a building during a takeover of the building? They were representing the guy giving out Hamas propaganda at Columbia using taxpayer dollars of people living in New York.
Are you familiar with CUNY Clear? This is the clinical arm of CUNY School of Law.
CUNY Clear, I'm not familiar with them.
Well, I will remind you, the CUNY Clear founder and professor is the head of Mahmoud Khalil's Legal Defense Fund. Are you aware of that?
No.
Does it concern you that New York taxpayers are paying the salary for the legal defense fund of Mahmoud Khalil? And I'll remind you who Mahmoud Khalil is. This is the chief pro-Hamas agitator that led to the anti-Semitic encampments at Columbia, the rioting and violent takeover of Hamilton Hall, the harassment and physical assault of Jewish students.
And we do not condone any kind of anti-Semitism.
But you allow the head of the clinical legal organization and a professor to be the chief legal aid to Mahmoud Khalil and do his legal defense fund.
Those decisions are made in the clinics, are made in the individual campuses.
It goes up to you. You are the chancellor.
Those decisions are made at
So you
the
take no
individual
responsibility.
campuses. I take responsibility for any behavior of our faculty.
So
and
is this
staff
acceptable?
that
Is this
anti-Semitic.
acceptable?
Any behavior that is anti-Semitic
Is
and
this
is in
acceptable
violation of our
that the
rules.
legal defense fund for Mahmoud Khalil is the head of CUNY Clear? That's acceptable under your watch.
We do have no tolerance for anti-Semitism on our campuses, and we've been very
So will
clear.
this person be fired?
Anybody that breaks our rules and our policies, there'll be an investigation. We'll investigate, and if there's any disciplinary action to be taken, we'll take it.
Let me make a prediction. No disciplinary action. This individual is not going to be fired because it's all words, no action. You have failed the people of New York. You have failed Jewish students in New York State, and it is a disgrace. I yield back.
Thank you, gentlelady. The gentlelady's time has expired.
Yeah. By the way, here's the thing here. Every single answer of that guy's was exactly the same. He was sent in. He sounded like a broken record by the end. No action has been taken in 2 years. Elise Stefanik, I think she can actually win governor of New York. She has a massive war chest, and she's going up against Kathy Hochul, who's one of the worst governors in the entire U.S. When did the real fireworks come? In front of Randy Fine, the new congressman from Florida. A bunch of protesters started speaking out during this thing. Listen to what happened.
How can you say those statements that you support your Jewish friends? Shut up and get out of here.
Gentlemen will suspend. Gentlemen will suspend.
Get out of here, you loser. Come on. By the way, to be clear, I hold you all responsible for
He's saying this to the college chancellors.
this. It is the attitude that you have allowed on your college campuses that make people think that this is okay.
He's right. He tore into them for another 3 minutes. But this is what they allow on the college campuses, and this is why the kids on campuses think it's okay to do what they did, because any kid, no matter what their age is, if you let them get away with a little bit, they'll try so much more. You give them an inch, they take a mile. And this is stuff that's been allowed on our college campuses. Think about the University of Washington. Yesterday, there were protests in South Lake Union. They occupied the entry lobby of a tech firm. You hear about any arrests? I checked the police blotter. I checked everything. I didn't hear about any arrest whatsoever. Because around here, you can do whatever you want, and you'll get away with it. I was so excited today when I saw there were finally federal charges for that guy in Spokane, the former city council president of Spokane, Washington, who was fighting with the ICE agents out there and 8 others just like him. I was so excited because I said to myself, oh, maybe the feds are finally taking interest. Are they finally going to charge the people here in Seattle that were attacking the federal building night after night after night after night after night? The ones that assaulted Cam Higbee. Are we finally going to see federal charges? I'm starting to feel like Washington is the forgotten stepchild of the U.S., that everybody just forgets what happens around here. It's very frustrating. This one here, Jeff and Kent says, Hochul worse than Fergie? That's a tough one. That's a tough one. That's like me and Ace Ventura, me and Ace Ventura. That's like Jim Carrey and Ace Ventura when the spear goes into one leg and the spear goes into the other. That's what it is. I don't really know which one to do with that. This one from John in Lakewood. If Stefanik becomes governor, I'd consider moving back to New York, but just the western part. All right, don't go that far, man. It's going to take a while to fix New York. And don't forget, you'll probably have Mamdani as the mayor of New York, even if you have Stefanik as the governor of New York. Oh, what a craziness that would be. Lots more to discuss, my friends, as the show continues. When we come back, we got stabbings all over the Seattle area. It's crazy. Maybe we should ban knives. But before we get to any of that, Todd Herman's Daily Thoughtcast right now on The Ari Hoffman Show. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card and tickets to the King County Fair. Yeah, another reason, always keep your radio tuned to 570 KVI, left on your dial, always right on the issues. You can also stream us at KVI.com, download the KVI app, and, of course, subscribe on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. A lot of stabbings in our area. Maybe we should start banning knives. Let's see what's going on. Seattle police, according to Como News, are investigating a homicide in the Soto neighborhood after a 55-year-old man was found stabbed to death inside a van on Monday evening. Oh, was it a UPS van? Was it a DHL or else van? Was it a FedEx van? Was it a white paneled van? Or does that mean one of our unsheltered neighbors? Down the street, along 6th Avenue South, I know exactly where this is, was a separate large response by law enforcement to the call of a man found dead on a Sound Transit bus. SPD Detective Eric Munoz confirmed to Como News that these deaths, just a couple of blocks away from each other, were not connected. Seattle. Sun's out, knives out. Detectives were expected to stay on site 4 hours. King County Sheriff's Office deputies first went to a call of a 27-year-old man dead on the bus. Sound Transit spokesperson said the bus had finished trips for the day. The driver noticed the passenger was unresponsive, and the driver called for an ambulance. What are you guessing? Drugs? Overdosing? What do you think? Meanwhile, down the street at 6:20 p.m., a passerby waved down deputies in the area, telling about a man stabbed in a white van near 6th Avenue and Massachusetts Street. The fire department crews attempted to revive the stabbing victim, but he died at the scene. Quote, we have detectives. They are essentially looking into possible video surveillance cameras, talking with witnesses who might know something. They're going to be conducting forensic analysis of the scene, collecting evidence, photographing things. Detectives are working to answer questions about what led to the stabbing, why it happened. It's unclear if the victim lived in the van or what the vehicle was doing in the area with a stack of bicycles nearby. Okay. Shall we go through the probabilities for a second here? Probability number one. Some guy who works for, a Lime Bike is hauling the bike somewhere and somebody kills him. If that was what happened, what would the headline read? Lime Bike, Lime Scooter, whatever it is, guy stabbed to death. I don't think it's that. My guess is this is one of those chop shops behind the van where they steal the bikes and then park them out. That'd be my guess. Detectives are working to answer the question. Police do not have a suspect. By the way, just out of morbid curiosity, I haven't looked at their page in a while, so let's head on over on Twitter to Seattle Homicide, which is the Twitter account I like to follow. They always have pinned right at the top. Do you remember just a few weeks ago, they were talking about how few homicides we had? Not their fault. There were so few homicides. And Bruce Harrell and the police chief were like, oh, look how few homicides we have. Yeah, that's not, 20 already. Fatal police shootings 1. 2024 had 61 homicides. 5-year average is 56. The record was set in 2023 of 74. So, sun's out, knives out. Maybe we should start banning knives having all these problems, right? Let's see what else is going on around here. Seattle police are investigating a stabbing. I see a pattern here. That left a 56-year-old man seriously injured early Tuesday in the South Lake Union neighborhood. Officers reported to a stabbing at 6th Avenue North. What's with 6th Avenue today? And Harrison Street at 5:51 a.m. Upon arrival, they found a man suffering from a stab wound. Police provided medical aid until Seattle Fire Department medics arrived and took over life-saving efforts. The victim was taken to Harborview Medical Center in stable condition. Authorities are actively investigating to determine what led up to the stabbing. The suspect fled the scene before officers arrived and has not been found. Homicide and Assault Unit detectives are handling the investigation. Anyone with information is urged to call the Seattle Police Department Violent Crimes Tip Line at 206-233-5000. Hey, wait a second. If I give the Violent Crimes Tip Line all the information on the guy who assaulted Cam Higbee, who's affiliated with Antifa, does that mean they're going to go arrest that guy? Do I get a reward? Are there rewards for this, like Crime Stoppers? Do I get a reward for that? Because we've known who that suspect allegedly is for a month now, and he still hasn't been arrested. A month. So if you call the tip line, is anybody actually going to arrest the guy? Well, not if it's a protected class like Antifa, unsheltered neighbors, any of that kind of stuff. Crazy stuff happening in Seattle just in the last 24 hours. According to KOMO News, a woman shot and killed a man who she says was trying to break into her home in the Skyway area of unincorporated King County Monday morning. Around 2 a.m., a woman called 911 to report the incident in the 7200 block of South 133rd Street. Deputies arrived to find an unconscious man lying in the driveway. He did not survive. Good gal with a gun. We should bring back that segment. So you try breaking into somebody's house, and look what ends up happening. Shortly before 7 a.m., investigators were waiting to get a warrant to enter the woman's home. KOMO News video from the scene showed a large law enforcement response. We don't know the full details of this, but is this somebody breaking into a home? Is this some kind of domestic incident that's not being investigated? Which one is it? Meanwhile, then there's this. According to KOMO News, 2 people are dead after a shooting on East Hill of Kent Monday night. When police arrived to the Kentwood Apartments on Benson Road Southeast around 8:30 p.m., officers found the bodies of a man and a woman. About 8 hours later, the scene is still active. What appears to be a body under a yellow tarp was outside the building, and the area was cordoned off with police tape. Another body is inside the apartment. Kent police said detectives are investigating what led to the shooting. It is not yet known if any arrests have been made in the case. It just seems like it's thing after thing after thing. Look, I know every major city has crime. I'm not pretending it doesn't. I'm not pretending there's some perfect utopia. But at the same time, if you allow drugs to be rampant around the area, if you allow police to be defunded, you're going to have issues like this, and it's going to continue. You know, for the last week or so, all the news outlets have been talking about the new Seattle waterfront and how excited everybody is to see it open. One of my first thoughts, because I'm so jaded at this point, there's this beautiful kids playground that they built on the waterfront, a beautiful playground. And it's got this big slide, but it's one of those tube kind of slides. So, you know what? Kids will never know the pain of going down one of those metal slides in the summer in those short shorts from the 1980s and burning your backside on those things, taking your life in your hands as you went down them every time, where your skin's either going to boil off or be scraped off as you're going down. Kevin's smiling. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. Those really, really hot slides. Well, I saw the slide, and that wasn't my first thought, even though that's what it looks like. It's probably plastic. My first thought was, how long until some homeless drug addict is going to be sleeping inside that slide one night, and some kid goes down and there's a bunch of needles at the bottom of it? Right now, I love the stories I've been seeing. The new Seattle waterfront is beautiful, but how do we keep it that way? Because even our media can't ignore what all of us are thinking. All of us are thinking, yeah, that's a real nice park you got there. I'm sure the people in Seattle are thinking that too. The street people. They're thinking to themselves, that's a nice park you got there. Great to shoot up in, my sweetie. Right? That's what they're thinking. Unfortunately, that's how jaded we've become around here. And that things are only going to get worse. Do you see things getting better around here? By the way, Bruce Harrell must really be worried. Within 24 hours, I've gotten three political surveys asking about his performance. I read one of them on air yesterday. Another one was very, very similar. I think it was from the other side this time. So this one, same idea. How would you rate the job being done by Bruce Harrell as mayor? Excellent, good, just, fair, or poor? Overall, would you say that things in Seattle are headed in the right direction, or are things pretty seriously off on the wrong track? What would your answers to these questions be? Give us a text, 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. I want to know what you think, because I think Bruce Harrell's doing a bad job. But unfortunately, I don't think there's any candidate running who might do a better job, who has viability. It's going to come down to Bruce Harrell or Katie Wilson. Here's the other thing. We've got one or two candidates out there that I go, okay, they'd be better. But I don't see them getting the name recognition, so much so that I'm having trouble remembering their names right now. I would love to promote these candidates, but do you have an actual shot at winning? Do you think any of these guys could actually win? And that's the problem. When's the last time you saw a candidate you thought actually had a shot in our little section of Shangri-La? When we come back, my friends, to help you see these candidates, the King County GOP has a new voter's guide out. And as opposed to just endorsing Republicans, it's got a fascinating new feature to it. new King County GOP chair, joins us when we come back to tell us all about it. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. It's another election season, this one locally. And unfortunately, because it's the summer, a lot of people aren't paying attention to the primary. I know a lot of people go, wait, there's an election coming up when those ballots hit their boxes, but we want you to be as prepared as possible. Thankfully, our friends over at the King County Republican Party have put together a voter's guide. Joining me now on the Warrior Injury Law studio line to discuss is Jolie Lansdowne, who's the chair of the Washington King County Republican Party. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Art. It's awesome to be here. Appreciate the opportunity.
Such a pleasure to have you. So this is the first time we're having you as chair, and I notice that this is very different from the other voters' guides I normally see out of the King County GOP. Tell us how you did this.
Well, we got to work a little early on this one. When I learned the number one reason that Republicans don't vote in the primary elections, especially the nonpartisan ones, are because they just don't know who to vote for, I thought, well, we can do something about that. So, we got in early with the team and started researching the candidates, and we thought, let's get a voter guide out to the people of King County early. We did it a few different ways. We reached out to all the 17 legislative districts and got their feedback. We looked at other factors like public records and media and online presence, things like that. Of course, their website and statements as those came out. And we even did something new, which we haven't done before. We put together a survey and sent it out to over 200 candidates and invited them to give us feedback on 3 of the most sort of middle popular topics, taxes, public safety, and traditional values, in specifically boys and girls sports. And many of them responded. And in fact, we even have their specific responses on our website at kcgop.org. But that's how we cultivated these positions. And essentially, we're looking at everybody and how they most closely measure in alignment with our Republican platform. So we're excited about this. We've done all the work for the voters. We've all been there, 2 or 3 days. If you're anywhere in government, all your friends are texting and calling. Who should I vote for? Who's this? Who's that? And especially in the nonpartisan years, because the candidates, they don't really have to declare it unless they choose to in their bio statement or something. So it can be hard at the 11th hour to dive in and research everybody. So that's what we did. We got everybody set up for success, and we're excited to provide it. It's right on our website.
I got to say, I'm looking at this thing right now, and I can't remember in my time doing what I do, such a thorough voter's guide. I really say that. Like, I'm looking at this thing, you've got everybody's answer to every single question, and then you've got something interesting here, because we are Republicans who are vastly outnumbered here in King County. You've got something else. You have on one page, you have their answers to all the questions, so you can see where these guys went. And then you have something else. You have the people that you endorsed for each race. And then in the races where you haven't endorsed anybody, you have, here's the best option. So maybe the hold your nose and vote for one of these guys, was that based on the questions as well, where you said, well, we agree with them 40%, but they're still a Democrat. We agree with them 60%, but they're still a Democrat. Was that kind of the rationale for some of these picks?
Yeah, it is a measurement of some of them, some of them we left blank because there just wasn't anybody close to our alignment, with our platform, or maybe we just couldn't get enough information on whether they were or not. So there is some that are blank, but the best choice, we want change, and if we can, provide options that are better than what we have, or if there's a spectrum of folks on the ballot, we're trying to guide. That's our job, right? To guide folks in, knowing the most information so they can make their choices. And so our best choices on there are the ones that most align with the Republican platform. And then we leave it, of course, up to the voter to figure out where they, where they fall with their values and choices in that.
We're talking with Jolie Lansdowne, who is the chair of the King County Republican Party, and you could tell it's a new day for the King County Republican Party because this is one of the most well-done voters' guides I have ever seen. It's not just a list of names, but they even tell you how they got there. Now, to play devil's advocate, because we are the most pro-devil show on the airwaves, I'm looking at a lot of these candidates, and even I don't know who they are, and I'm, doing this for a living or something like that. So I see some of these candidates I think have a lot of viability. I'm looking at a whole bunch of them right now, but there's some, I don't even know who these guys are. In a county as blue as ours, how do we get more of these guys, more of these gals known by the public? Because that seems to be an ongoing problem.
Yeah, that's a great question. The truth is that we have folks running to the Republican Party now in measures that we have not seen before. They're waking up, whether they've just not been engaged before or they've, been a Democrat or whatever, all sorts of reasons. But they're coming to our party. So we're seeing lots of new faces. And, it's an exciting time, I think, to just see that new, fresh just regular people on the ballot that are, have been impacted by some of these issues, whether it's education or, taxes, all the things. And they're saying, hey, I'm getting in the arena. I'm going to get out there and make a difference. And so it's an exciting time. And, we'll see what happens. We have quite a spectrum. I think people are ready for change and ready for new options. And so I'm really encouraged about what we're going to see on the ballot. And, I don't know if everybody knows this, but we're expecting about 35% engagement on this primary election, on August 5th. And that means that each vote is worth 3 times the amount as previously, if you're getting 100%. But you get what I'm saying. Sorry.
Yeah.
So each vote is worth 3 times as much.
Jolie Lansdowne, who's the chair of the King County Republican Party. You've done an incredible job with this, and I don't give out praise lightly like something like that, especially my own party when I'm usually used to beating up my own party. But this is really, really well done. You and your team have done a fantastic job, and I really appreciate you joining us today. Everybody should check this out at kcgop.com. That's kcgop.org, kcgop.org/voters guide. It's all right there, and that way you don't have to burn up my email box with all the questions about who to vote for. It's all right there for you. Jolie Lansdowne, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Ari. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. It is time to feel good as we wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And before we get to our good news giveaway, you know it's not often that our neck of the woods is in the national headlines for a good reason. Thanks to Cal Raleigh, last night from the Seattle Mariners, he won the home run derby. Here's the call from ESPN.
No, it will not get out. The Dominican dominance comes to an end. The Big Dumper is your home run derby champion for 2025.
And all the dumpies celebrate. How about the job that his younger brother and his dad did? Fantastic. I love it. Are you kidding me?
So his younger brother and his father was pitching for him and his younger brother was catching for him. You get to pick that for the home run derby. There was some discussion online last night. I really hate the side-by-side view that they do of the home run derby. I like the old version of the home run derby. But I got to say, that's an amazing moment. And for the Mariners fans, look, I know the Mariners are having a pretty good year. But I know what it's like from a team that doesn't win that often to go, this may be it. This may be our pinnacle. But that was really a great moment last night. Congratulations to Cal Raleigh. That was really a lot of fun to watch. Now, if you want to watch something else, there's a video that's going around on social media. And all of us who played baseball in our backyards as kids, all of us who had kids who played baseball in the backyard, especially when it's just like you and your brother or you and your friend and you can't do a whole baseball game, what do? You play home run derby. You say, okay, if it goes over the telephone wire and past that fence, that's a home run.
We
right?
had a tree that had a certain branch that hung out.
Yeah.
And that was that was over the wall. If you
exactly,
but things got a little dicey. If it was way far away from the tree, then you're like, that was no, it wasn't.
Do
yes,
over,
it was.
do over. We're gonna do a do over. Okay, that was always the answer, right? Do over. So there's this great video going around the internet of Cal Raleigh. His father and mother clearly took the video. And he's going, I'm the home run derby champion. I'm the home run derby champion. And I'm like, yes, you are, sir. Yes,
the thing that always makes me sad about those is I think, oh, what is that in the 80s or something? It's like 2007 or something.
Yeah, I mean, how
it's
old
like
is Cal?
2010?
Hang on a second. How old is Cal Raleigh? 28. Okay, so if he's 28,
yeah.
So that means So let's
90,
say he was.
What is that? 90?
No, dude. Think about it this way. Let's say he was 10 or 12 in that video.
Oh,
okay?
yeah. So the videos, yeah.
So now go back. Yeah. Now you're in bigger trouble, man.
Oh,
That's
boy.
not the 90s,
See?
my friend, what you're going back to right
That's
there.
right. That's right.
Yeah. Oh, God. That could have been like my kid running around doing that. Oh, my God. I'm so old. But, yeah, congratulations to Cal Raleigh. Really, really just a great moment for the Mariners. Lots and lots of fun. In fact, the Washington Post, for you Mariners fans out there, I never go to the Washington Post for my news, but they've got a whole story about his parents. They've got a whole story about his family. It's really, I love the All-Star Game. And I got to say, when I went to the All-Star Game here in Seattle just a couple of years ago, I was so disappointed by the All-Star Game itself. I really like the home run derby a lot more, but they're doing things to try and bring back the All-Star Game what it was. First of all, I hate the American League, National League jersey system when they're playing. If you came to see an All-Star play, I want to see him in the Yankee pinstripes. I want to see him in the Mariners gear. I want to see him in everything else, so they brought that back for this year. Actually, we got a text here from David over on the Warrior Injury Law text line. He says, hi, Ari. Just letting you know your Mets NL All-Stars got a healthy Bronx cheer from the Atlanta Braves crowd, as did the Phillies. Phillies. Those are like how you guys feel about the A's. Pete Alonso smiled, tipped his cap, and bowed to the crowd of the Bronx cheers. Oh, the Bronx cheers. That means if it's a lot of Yankee fans there, you're not getting no Bronx cheers. You're getting something else for the Mets fans.
That Alonso character, wasn't he the one that lost to
Julio
yes. Rodriguez
he
a couple
was.
years ago?
But also, let's not forget, he's the guy who's the 2 years in a row, 3 years in a row, I forget how many it was, home run derby champion.
Yeah.
Yes, he lost to Julio, but I don't remember, did Julio win that whole thing that year?
He did not.
I
don't believe he did.
That's right. He did not. He actually said he wasn't going to play in the home run derby this year, which is a little disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few people said they're not even going. Julio said he's not going to the All-Star game at all
That's
this
what
year.
I hear,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. What a bummer. Anything he says, good thing that the MLB has returned to the All-Star tradition of having All-Stars wear their own team jerseys instead of American and National League. National League wearing their home white, American League road gray. David from the People's Republic of Seattle. I agree. You know what I still want to do that's on my bucket list, except I think I kind of missed out? the Field of Dreams game, it was kind of cool that first year. Then it was a little cool the second year, and now it's just, okay, so you're playing in a cornfield. I think the magic is kind of lost off that, but that first year with the fireworks and everything, man, that was really something special. Can we figure out something else to do? I don't know. What other iconic places do you want to see a baseball game played that could be a lot of fun to watch? Yeah, and by the way, I'm one of those people who didn't like the movie Field of Dreams. I thought it was slow. I thought it was boring. It's my least favorite baseball movie. I even like that For the Love of the Game better than I like Field of Dreams.
Yeah, I'm not. It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, exactly. It's more talking about baseball and farming than actually playing baseball.
And corny.
And very corny. And what's with the ghosts? Whatever. That's a whole nother thing. We'll get to that another time. Before I forget, your chance to win fantabulous prizes. Today, we are giving away a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card. Daniel's Broiler has been a Seattle favorite since 1980. Features prime steak and other specialties, including chicken and fresh seafood, as well as a selection of high-end spirits, wine, and cocktails. Daniel's Broiler is open now in Bellevue, downtown Seattle, Leschi, and South Lake Union with dining, takeout, and delivery. Check out danielsbroiler.com to reserve a table, place your takeout, delivery order, and more. We're also giving away a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs. Learn how to design your retirement to support your quality of life. For 30-plus years from Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs, a local company working to help you grow deep financial roots, future financial storms, don't blow your life savings away. Visit MadronaFinancial.com for more information and discover how you can create a rooted wealth plan today. Last but certainly not least, we're giving away 4 tickets to the Washington State Fair. Time to do the Puyallup at the Washington State Fair to celebrate 125 years. With food, fun, and entertainment, the Washington State Fair has it all. Get your tickets this Wednesday at thefair.com. All you have to do in order to win these fantabulous prizes is be caller number 10 at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Caller number 10. Win a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card, a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs, and 4 tickets to the Washington State Fair. Phone lines are open now. Give Kevin a call for your chance to win at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Well, that's going to do it today, my friends. But fear not, we will be back tomorrow with more insane stories, more exciting guests, and, of course, more giveaways. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.